Good morning, and it is great to be back. Just about survived all of the drama from yesterday's final group games in Group C and D. There was plenty going on. Thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel so far. As ever, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of future videos. We really appreciate your support. And let's have a look at the hot topics for discussion today. So, Australia show great team spirit. They do indeed. Agony for Tunisia. Oh, let's get into it. Argentina dominate Poland. Big time, big time. Mexico cannot do enough to qualify. They just lose out. And then let's have a look at Group E and Group F, which will be settled later today. We should also have a look at the playoffs, or, well, not the playoffs, the last 16 and how that will look. Trouble in the Belgian camp? I don't believe it. And Pulisic, oh my goodness, he could be out of the last 16 for the US. That would be an absolute disaster. So that would be pretty much the last thing that US would need at this moment in time. But Australia team spirit, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Because there was one thing that was absolutely evident from Australia's display yesterday, and it was their team spirit. So obviously, you can see they got the win. Lecky scored the all decisive goal in around the for some reason I can't see the time. Oh, it's the 60th minute. So they had to endure over half an hour of torture with Denmark trying. But actually, they didn't look overly convincing at any point in time, I have to say. Denmark looked very toothless, very toothless. 60% possession versus 24% possession, as you can see, 16% in contest. Doesn't tell the correct story because, of course, it was Australia that got that all-decisive goal. And even if you look at attempts on target, 14 versus 8, none of those were substantive or in any way convincing for me. Like I never looked at that and thought that, oh, Denmark look really dangerous here and they're really unlucky that they didn't win this match. It never really crossed my mind. In the end, you were like, well, Australia have done it again, just like they did with Tunisia. They've pulled off the result, and who could begrudge them? And they're going to be a tough team in the next round for whoever they get to play against, and we'll get onto that. And that's really it. So great team spirit from the Australian team. They show real togetherness. They show what it means to play as a unit. They wouldn't have, by any means, they wouldn't have the strongest team in this tournament. In fact, they were odds-on favourites to be knocked out at the group stages, but they've shown us what they can do. And from there, we go to Tunisia versus France, and a fantastic win for Tunisia. It was Khazri with the goal in the 58th minute, so pretty close to the 60th minute once again. And the stats also tell the incorrect story in a sense, because possession, France had 56% versus 30%. The goals go the wrong way, and then the attempts on goal weren't so far skewed in favour of France here, 9 versus 5 in terms of total attempts. But the firepower that France possess, and even then Griezmann, he got that goal in the last minute of the match that was ruled out via the VAR. That was dramatic. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. I was watching the highlights of that last night, and I actually couldn't believe it. I had the full match recorded, and I went back and I just watched like the last 5 to 10 minutes of the match to kind of take in the atmosphere and to see how all of that went down. And at one point in time, I thought the match was over, and then suddenly the referee is calling for VAR. They have a look at the VAR, and it turns out that Griezmann was offside in the build-up. Now, does it become a second phase of play or not? I don't know. I guess they obviously concluded that it doesn't. It was a great finish, though. It was a great goal that he did score. It's just the build-up was offside, and it was clearly offside. I don't think you can argue about that. You can see the moment that ball left the French players. I can't remember who it was that actually took the cross or the pass into the box, but as soon as the ball left his foot, you could see that Griezmann was standing in an offside position. But a very famous win for Tunisia, but absolute agony for them because, of course, Tunisia are out of the World Cup. And I should add that Denmark actually finished in last place in that group. And let's have a very quick look actually at how that group stands at the moment. So you can see it here on the screen. So France finished with 6 points. They thought they may have had 7 points there for a little while. Indeed, some of the tables I saw on BBC and everything else at one point in time had France down as having the draw. They didn't realize that there was a VAR, so that's how late it came into that match. And Australia actually finished on 6 points as well and only lose out by virtue of goal difference. Now, as you can see, it was 4 goals in the goal difference, but amazing. I wouldn't have predicted that. And indeed, I didn't predict that. I think yesterday I was sitting here saying that Denmark are going to win this easily against Australia. They did not do that. And Tunisia, the absolute agony for Tunisia. They've come in 3rd place in the group. They have beaten the world champions. They, well and truly, to be honest with you, they lost out on 2nd place with their result against Australia. And they started off the tournament with a 0-0 draw with Denmark. That single goal lost to Tunisia, but once again, this was the strong Australian team spirit. They held in there. They were compact. They played as a unit, and they got their just desserts in the end. Very unfortunate for Tunisia. They are probably the team I feel the worst for today, given everything that happened yesterday. From there, let's go to Argentina. And Argentina were awesome last night. Absolutely awesome. Like, they put in a 2-0 performance. It could have been more, in all honesty. You can see here it was Alvarez that got the score. Well, he scored the 2nd goal, actually. It was McAllister that got the 1st goal in the 46th minute. So they waited until the 2nd half to open the scoring. They certainly tried to score in the 1st half. Let's not be shy about this. The stats here are stunning. 67% possession versus 24% possession. And then let's have a look at the attempts on goal. Look at that. 25 attempts on goal for Argentina. 4 attempts on goal for Poland. Poland did exactly what I expected. They set themselves up so that they were going to be super defensive. Never really got at Argentina at all, which is a real shame considering they have Lewandowski. But 13 shots on target versus 0 shots on target for Argentina. 8 shots off target versus 2. At least they had those 2 shots off target. Poland, that is, inside the penalty area, 1 versus 10. Outside the penalty area, 3 versus 15. So that's an amazing story. One thing I do need to talk about is the penalty that happened in the 1st half. There was a penalty incident. It went to VAR. Basically, the goalkeeper came to clear the ball. He missed the ball. It made contact with Messi's shoulder, but the goalkeeper also made, I wouldn't say it was the biggest contact ever, but he did make some contact with Messi's face. Normally when you'd see something like this, you'd be just like, okay, well, this is the goalkeeper and this is what happens. If you're going to go for a ball in the box, you're probably going to get flattered by the goalkeeper. And in fact, in most cases, if you get flattered by the goalkeeper, it'll be even a free out, because that's how skewed the refereeing can be sometimes in favor of the goalkeeper. But no, they went to VAR, they looked at it, and you could tell by the amount of times that the referee kept looking at the replay over and over again, and the slow motion and everything else like that, that he was definitely going to give a penalty. And so it transpired. He did give a penalty. It was ridiculous. I think that was absolutely ridiculous. And you know what? If Argentina had scored a penalty, Messi missed the penalty. Can you believe it? Messi missed a penalty. If Argentina had scored that penalty, let's assume the result was 3-0, and Poland would be out of the World Cup. Mexico, Saudi Arabia, the other game in that group. Curious to see what Saudi Arabia could do, but unfortunately, Saudi Arabia put in their best performance in their first match against Argentina. Unbelievably, Argentina really picked themselves up since then. It was 2-1 was the final result. I think most significantly, you can see it was the 95th minute that Saudi Arabia scored their goal. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce this guy's name out of respect for Saudi Arabia. It was Martin and Chavez that scored for Mexico. Mexico put on big pressure. They needed to score 3 goals based on the result that was coming through from the Poland match. It actually didn't matter the fact they conceded 1 goal. That didn't really change anything. They still needed that 3rd goal, which unfortunately they couldn't get. And it was a really precarious situation at one period of time when it was 2-0 to Mexico and it was 2-0 to Argentina. We got confirmation the Argentinian match had just finished. Mexico then were trying their best to get that 3rd goal, but they actually had a completely even goal difference with Poland. So absolutely identical goal difference, absolutely identical head-to-head as well, because of course they drew. Everything was identical. So it was actually coming down to yellow cards received in the tournament so far. And Mexico had more yellow cards than Poland, so Poland would be going through, and that's why Mexico needed a 3rd goal. And unbelievably, like how could things be settled like this? Now it didn't come down to it in the end, thankfully, but then it brings us back to the previous World Cup in which something very similar happened to Senegal. I think Senegal went out of that tournament on yellow cards, so maybe they need to look at changing those rules because that seems harsh. But then again, FIFA fair play comes into the game here, comes into the game. Okay, let's have a look at the stats here. Possession, 55% versus 29%. As you can see, all skewed in favor of Mexico. And then the attempts and goal, not as impressive as Argentina in terms of the gulf between both of these teams. 25 to 10 in terms of total attempts, and on target, 10 on target versus 2 on target. Off target, we had 8 versus 8, so actually that was pretty even. And then you can see outside the penalty area, Mexico certainly had a lot more shots on goal, but they couldn't get that all decisive 3rd goal. And what that means then is that, let's get the group here. The group table, as you can see, Argentina go through as group winners with 6 points. Poland go through in 2nd place on 4 points. Mexico 3rd on 4 points as well, but it's the goal difference. Look, -1 goal. And it's just to confirm. So if Mexico had finished that match 3-1, yes, they would have still a 0 goal difference, but they would have actually scored more goals than Poland, which I think was the significant and important factor there. They had actually scored absolutely identical goals. As you can see, they both lost to Argentina 2-0. They both beat Saudi Arabia 2-1. Sorry, no, they didn't both beat Saudi Arabia 2-1. Poland beat Saudi Arabia 2-0 and Mexico beat Saudi Arabia 2-1. Significantly, Mexico scored 2 goals against Saudi Arabia, I think. And then Mexico and Poland, when they played each other, it was 0-0. So you can see when it was 2-0 to Mexico against Saudi Arabia before the Saudi Arabians scored their goal, how everything was absolutely identical. And then Saudi Arabia finished in 4th place. They started out this group as being group leaders and they ended up in last place, which is a little bit unfortunate. I thought maybe they'd be able to pull through, but they saved their best for the start and they weren't able to perform beyond that, unfortunately. So before we have a look at today's matches, let's have a quick look at the knockout stages and see how that is playing out at the moment. So as we know, Netherlands versus USA. Now we have confirmation Argentina versus Australia. There's a huge test now for Australia. That may be one step too far for Australia, but if I've learned any lessons from this World Cup, even up to yesterday, my predictions are usually wrong and never write off anybody. And who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what's going to happen? I would like to think that this is a fairly easy route for Argentina into the quarterfinals, but I could be completely wrong. So I'm not even going to try to guess on that one. And as we go down further, we know about England and Senegal, but then it's confirmed it's France versus Poland. Poland were not impressive. I was not impressed with Poland so far in this tournament. Maybe they'll have a performance in them for the French team, but France are just as, if not more dangerous than Argentina, in my opinion, in attack. So once again, a very defensive setup probably from Poland. And I hate to say it, but it has a France versus England quarter-final, or sorry, last round of 16 written all over it. Yeah, it really does. It really does look like it could be France versus England going through, but Senegal will definitely give England a match. They've also got that team cohesiveness and they've got spirit. So I need to come back then and just have a look at the fixtures that we have coming up for today before we get on to one or two news items. So very, very quickly looking at the fixtures for today. And I will try to refrain from giving over the top predictions because I'm always wrong. Although I'll go there. I'll go there. Costa Rica versus Germany later today, and Japan versus Spain. So those matches will be played at the same time. Realistically, looking at both of them, you can only see one winner coming out of each of those. Those would be Germany and Spain. If for whatever reason there's some kind of an upset, then Germany will find themselves in trouble. But Spain, given that they drew with Germany and only have 4 points and aren't automatically through in first place, will probably push on for the win in that match. And it's hard to see them losing or even drawing to Japan. But there I've said it and I've jinxed it. So Spain and potentially Germany to go through in that group. Spain in first, Germany in second. We'll see how that one plays out. So that's not overly controversial in my opinion. Now, where things get very interesting is Canada versus Morocco at 3 p.m. today. Morocco probably, they should be, based on their form so far in the tournament, 1 draw and 1 win. Morocco should be winning this every day of the week. Let's not forget Morocco's win came against Belgium. So Morocco should absolutely be winning this against Canada. Canada are already out of the tournament. They have no chance of going through. Yeah, they will want to put in one big result, I suppose, in the World Cup. But Morocco really need to be looking to win that and in turn potentially go through as group winners. They are down slightly on the goal difference with Croatia. They do have Croatia do have to play Belgium, which is a huge match as well in itself. So very hard to call a winner from that. If you went by world rankings, you'd be saying, well, Belgium are going to take this one. Croatia have looked better than Belgium so far in this group. Croatia didn't look great in their first match. They looked very good in their second match against Canada. And Belgium so far have not really turned up to this World Cup, in my opinion. So Belgium need to do something big or they are going out. And, I hate to say it, but it's winner takes it all potentially for Croatia and Belgium. If Morocco win, and we assume Morocco win, then the winner of Belgium and Croatia will go through. If it's a draw, Croatia will go through. But Morocco could be the group winners if that's the case. So a lot to play for there. And yeah, that is exciting. So I look forward to seeing the outcomes of this and catching up on the highlights later. Of course, it's the 3 p.m. match, so I probably won't be able to watch that one live, unfortunately. But that's what happens. Trouble in the Belgian camp. Well, there's a story for us. Is there trouble in the Belgian camp? We're hearing that rumors that there is trouble in the Belgian camp. It was actually the coach, manager, whatever you want to call him, Martinez, that was he was speaking about potential tension within the squad. Perhaps that suggests a lack of creativity, a lack of magic, a lack of this team cohesion that we keep talking about from the Australian team. Potentially, so that might be a factor. Courtois, though, has come out and he has said that this is not a factor. He said that there were lies that came out of the dressing room, things don't even exist, or things that don't even exist. The main problem is seeing things in social media or in the newspapers. I didn't feel like there were problems. It's good to have this, or it's good to have had this moment to sort things out. The best thing to do is to be honest together. Now, he's saying there's no problem, but then, he goes on to say that it's good we had this moment to sort things out. Sort what out if there's no problem? So it does suggest that potentially there is some kind of issue within the Belgian camp. And hopefully they can sort that out before their big match with Croatia and turn that match itself into an absolute stunner. That's what we want to see. And final story, a little bit of a worry then for the US. Pulisic, will he play in their match against the Netherlands? I think that was on Sunday. That's scheduled for. Um, so Pulisic got the winner, of course, against Iran. He did get injured in the first half of that match, and he was actually substituted at half time. So uh, he collided with the goalkeeper from Iran, and he suffered a blow to the stomach or to the abdomen, and as a result, he was taken off at half time. He was taken to hospital as a precaution because he felt dizziness following the injury. And he was diagnosed with a pelvic contusion, and his status is being checked from day to day, basically. Um, I'll be ready by Saturday, don't worry. He posted on social media, so we'll see if he is or isn't. And there, he's confirmed the match is on Saturday, not on Sunday. So thank you very much for that, Christian Pulisic. And I really hope that he will be fit and ready for that match, because he is the US's biggest player, and it would be good to have all the best players on the field for that match with the Netherlands, which could be a great match. It could be a big match for the USA if the Netherlands don't step up their game even further. But that's where we're at. We'll continue to speculate on who's the worst team in the World Cup after we see the result of Canada's match today. I think at the moment it's fairly nailed on that it's Qatar, but things can change. Thanks for joining as ever. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and I'll speak to you all really, really soon. Have a good one.